Hello and happy Friday. This is the after party for Should I Wish Someone Told Me. The episode that we did this week is episode 62, where we dived in to answer the question, are you addicted to a previous version of yourself? Coach Josh Brintnell enjoyed me in accompanied me. I'm like, what is the word I'm looking for here? It's Friday and I am failing the English language. Joined me for this conversation, and so we are about that episode and give you a recap, share what you had to say this week in the poll results about the topic, and then from there we are going to get to know Josh a little bit better. And yeah, it should be a good time. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hello. Happy Friday. I'm doing well.
Happy
How are you?
Friday. Hey, Darius is in the house. How you doing? So, I don't know if you heard, but I just explained what we're doing, why we're here. And so, shall we just dive right in?
Let's dive right in. Oh, wait, I can't hear you over the crowd of fans that are just so excited for your live after party. Say that again.
Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. There's a lot of y'all here. So, hello. Let's definitely have a happy Friday. We're going to make this a lot of fun. Josh has already kicked us off with that. You don't have to keep it clean. The episode is called, Shit I Wish Someone Told Me, but you do have to keep it kind. So be nice. Be nice. But yeah, this is going to be fun. We have questions that you asked about this topic, and there's been some interest in the DMs. And so if there is anything that comes up while you're on this conversation, please do let us know. We are here. We can talk to you, screen to text. If you want, you can even pop on with us if you're feeling frisky. And if you want, you can either enter your question into the chat, or you can use the handy dandy little word bubble with a question mark so we can put your question up on the screen so everybody can see it. So yeah, thank you for that. It's good to be here with you and see your face. And so, yeah, let's dive in. So would you please, for us, just briefly touch on a Cliff Notes version of what we spoke about in this week's episode?
Yeah. This idea of being addicted to a past version of yourself. So believe it or not, we can get addicted to the chemicals in our brain that don't feel so good just as easily as we can get addicted to the ones that do feel good. So we can easily get addicted to, imagine, be addicted to dopamine. That's easy. But if you have patterns in your life that produce a certain set of chemicals that result in an anxious version of you or a depressed version of you, you can just as easily get addicted to those chemicals. So that's basically the gist of our podcast. We went into that. Few details on.
And one of the things that we spoke about when we were thinking about how to present it to everyone is how do we really articulate what we're getting at here. And what we spoke about, we kind of went back and forth and are we talking strictly self-sabotage, or that's we touch on that, are we talking about getting stuck? And so I really like the title that we went with about are you addicted, because we really do look at the science behind how your body, like you shared, becomes addicted to whatever our version is of normal that we have come to expect based on our lived experience. And so we talk about that part of it, because I think so many times when we think of these concepts, and from my experience in coaching, and I want to hear yours, but when we think of these concepts, it's something where, it's well, I self-sabotage. Well, I just, can't get out of my own way. Well, I feel really stuck and I don't know why. And we try to use all of these practical hacks and solutions and timers and affirmations and things like that we're sold as being the cure for what ails us, when in reality it's an adaptive behavior oftentimes that served us at some point, and that we are, like we share in the episode, literally addicted to, because that is our body's version of what's normal. And so when those chemicals are no longer present, and we dive into this into the episode, it's something where our body creates a circumstance to bring those chemicals back because that's what our body believes to be equilibrium. And so, yeah, I really like that we went with that topic because I feel like it really like goes straight to the core of this is why.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's a big part that, like you were asking, what's my experience with coaching? That's a big part of this is understanding why you've formed the identity of yourself that you have formed, so that you can then take action towards creating the changes that you're looking to change. If you don't really understand that and you're just using the tools that you're sort of sold, if you're reading the self-help books, I know, Johnna, you've put out a lot of great content out there about why self-help doesn't always work for you, right? That's why. It's because just doing the things that you're told to do will not necessarily be enough if you don't understand what it is that you've created in your life, why you've created it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we want an example? A quick example
If you
of
have,
how this?
we have
Sure. Yeah.
someone asked a question. So yeah, if you want to share a quick example, just so we can kind of put it into practice, and then yeah, we can answer the question that we have.
Yeah. So I see this one a lot. This idea where, oh, I'm not good in relationships, or maybe I'm not meant to be in a relationship. Why can't I? So what you're doing right there,
Or I only attract toxic people, or something like that. Yeah.
those kinds of beliefs, right? We see this in the online dating world. Now it's all over the place, and an easy identity to form around yourself, right? Just because we take our experiences, we take what we know, and we begin to form an identity around it. Now, what that identity is often doing is protecting you from some underlying fear, like a fear of rejection or a fear of not being enough, right? So we create a victim identity.
Yep.
That is protecting us from feeling or experiencing that fear, that really experiencing that discomfort. And over time, we become addicted to that identity that we create, the particular, again, set of chemicals, the biochemistry that comes with that, even if it doesn't feel good to consider yourself someone who's, not bad in relationships. Next failed relationship you have, or next bad date you have, and it doesn't feel bad, you're going to have that. Have you ever had this? That sense of, here I am again. I knew this was the case. I knew this was going to happen, right? And the more you do that for yourself, the more you're going to get reinforced that victim idea, that belief. So until you really understand what's happening there behind the curtain, it's going to be very difficult for you to create changes in your life in areas like that, wherever you're identifying with identities that aren't serving you, or identifying with victimhood.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that example, because I definitely feel that that's one we can all relate to. And I think that to your point, yeah, it's like that is exactly like it, right? Like we think that like, oh well, I just can't do this thing, and it's like, no, like that's what you know to be normal. So whenever you find yourself in other relationships, it's like, oh well, there's no chemistry there. Well, that could mean that there's no like stress response, because that thing that you're considering chemistry is actually your body trying to tell you like, hey, red flag, like get out. But we've just been told that like we should go for the butterflies and that kind of a thing. So yeah, it's something where if you don't know, then you can get in the position where it's like you feel helpless. You feel really disempowered and helpless. And so yeah, thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about this question we have here. So can you have withdrawal from the previous version of yourself? Oh, do you want to take this first?
I love this question. I want to jump all over it, but
thank you for it. Like that's
okay.
a good one. That's a good one. Darius always has great questions.
Yeah, that is what we call self-sabotage. So yes, you can experience a sort of withdrawal from the previous version of yourself, just like any addiction. And what that looks like is even if you are making positive changes in your life that you want to be making, and I've got lots of personal experiences with this, stories with this, even when you're taking those steps forward and you're leaving behind that old identity that you have that may not even serve you anymore, you're going to have moments where you feel out of place or not like yourself, or even like you miss the thing that you left behind, right? So we see this all the time. A great example with this is with weight loss, right? There's the common scenario of I'm subscribing to a new diet or a weight loss program, and I'm getting results, right? And so you stick with it, you get results to a point, and then you eventually snap back into your old way of being because it feels comfortable, it feels good, right? So this is it. At the heart of it, change feels uncomfortable. It feels scary, because to the mind, change is threatening to you. It's unknown territory, right? Um, so yes, absolutely, you will experience that withdrawal. Often it leads to self-sabotage, um, and I'll let you go and add to that maybe before we talk about how to address that. So we
Yeah.
can speak to that.
Thank you. One of the things that you shared a few months ago is that, when we are uncomfortable, that is indicative that like we're presented with the opportunity to change. And so I think that that is brilliant and true because yeah, like we were built for comfort as humans, right? Like if we were uncomfortable like that is us, our body's telling you like, hey, like be careful, because back in the day, if we were uncomfortable, that typically meant like we're going to die. And so it is something where now we have all of these, luxuries and like these securities and these safeties and these things that like our baseline for what comfort is has been raised. And so when we are in this position where getting off topic from the question here, which is, can you have withdrawal from that? Yes. And because when you are in a position where you are this new version of yourself, right? Like whenever you are becoming like who it is you want to be, like you've read the books, like done the things, like you're working with someone, you don't know that person, right? Like we know this old previous version of yourself. And so like Josh said, it can be something where it's like, well, that's familiar, that's comfy, cozy. Even if I know consciously that's not necessarily what I want, it's still what I know to be, that's who I'm familiar with. It's kind of like going on a date with a stranger, right? Like you've seen their photos like on the dating apps and like them, but like it's still kind of uncomfortable because like you don't really know them. And I think that that's a way that we can look at, whenever we start to do the work, so to speak, and become this new version of yourself. It's like, I don't really know this person. Like I want to have fun. They seem like a great person. And at the same time, I can enjoy this and like it is fun, but like, I mean, this isn't like my best friend, or this isn't like someone that you feel really comfortable with. And so that's like one way to look at it. And I love that you mentioned that it can be a situation where we go into self-sabotage, because oftentimes as a way to get back to that comfortable version of ourselves, we will do things to create those sensations and those feelings of normalcy. And so it's something where it's not that necessarily like we have certain problems, like we have certain toxic behaviors, maybe true, yes, but those are, like we talked about, those are solutions to something else. And so it's a matter of recognizing what that, like you said, is solving for, how that behavior or that trait is helping you in another way, so that you can learn more effective coping techniques that are healthier, that are better for you, that are going to serve you in the long run, that are going to create those feelings of safety. Because if you don't
Yeah.
know what safety and security and success and all these things that you won't feel like, if you don't know what it feels like to be wealthy, whether we're talking about, financially or like in relationships with, personal experiences, if you don't know what that feels like, then yeah, if you start to suddenly experience those things, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I know I want this, but hold on. Like, I don't know that person. Can I
Yeah.
trust them?
You
Like,
got to develop that trust. Yeah.
are they going to whip out a knife and stab me? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good on paper, but I don't know. So yeah, absolutely. We can go into withdrawal. So yeah, thank you for that question. And I would to relate it back to what I was saying about like being comfortable. It's something where um, we, whenever we feel discomfort, shy away from it because we're conditioned to do so. And so it's something where reframing that, if it's something that's unknown, then that's an opportunity. Doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It means that you have an opportunity to see if this is going to be something different, and then to decide whether or not you like that based on what happens with that outcome. That's going to give you contrast between like something that you may like, that you may not like. And so therefore you will be able to leverage that knowledge and make more empowered decisions moving forward. And so, yeah, Joe says, I know the feeling. Music in my life is absolutely right. Thank you. Yes. Awesome. So did you have anything else to add, or what else did you want to dive into?
Well, this is exactly why change doesn't happen overnight, right? Because the whole process is part of expanding and developing your relationship with yourself. Your journey of growth and your journey of healing is all about teaching yourself about this new version of yourself. So, in a sense, I like to imagine sort of bringing the past version of yourself a little bit along for the ride, right, step by step, and imagine showing them, right, this is what it feels like. Let's get curious about what this new experience is in my life, right, and understand it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but the more safety you create for yourself around the changes that you're making,
Yeah.
the more successful you will be, the less you will self-sabotage.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Something that a client said to me recently, they arrived at this point where they were like, oh, it suddenly clicked, right? Like it all makes sense now. And exactly what you said, they were like, this feels like so weird, but at the same time, really familiar. And I'm like, well, that's because we've been doing things in our time together since we've been, coaching and working together, where I've been asking those questions like, what would it feel like to be successful in this way? What would it look like to have this kind of an experience? And so they've already been priming their brain to start to consider what that would look and feel like. So then when it happens, you don't freak out and like, beyond anxiety, Darius asked, like, go through withdrawals and start to, self-sabotage or step back. You can sit in it because you're like, oh, this is that thing that I've been wanting. And while, I've read about it, I've thought about it, it's kind of like reading the book and then watching the movie, or like reading a lesson and then actually like doing the practical, right? It's like, oh, now it makes sense. Like the two are together, and that's how we start to like rebuild those neural pathways or create new neural pathways of these new experiences. And so, yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's something where when we have done kind of like the priming, if you will, to consider what it's going to be like, it's not like, whoa, this is weird. Like, I've never been here before. Like, I need to like step back. It's something where you kind of have this moment of reckoning where you're like, oh, this is what we've been preparing for. This is new because this is the first time I've experienced it, but also it's so familiar because this is what we've been practicing for. Like, this is what we do like in coaching. This is what we do in training, right? So yeah, I think that is great. I'm going to go ahead and like exit the question. Cool. So one of the things that we do every week is poll you all on what you had to say on this topic. And so the first question that we asked you this week was simply, have you ever felt stuck? And we gave you the options of yes, no, or perpetually, every day feels like Groundhog Day. Did you see the results?
Yeah, 0% said no.
0%, y'all. That means 100% of the respondents said yes, at some point or another, you have felt stuck. And so it was actually 83% that said yes, and 17% that said perpetually every day is Groundhog Day. Were you surprised by this?
You know what? I expected more people to say perpetually every day is Groundhog Day. I think that's a really common feeling. It's the idea of getting stuck in a rut. Um, so a little surprised, not really surprised that we had such overwhelming yes responses though to and nobody answered no. Like that makes sense. We've all felt stuck, right? We you can't get through life, I don't think, without ever experiencing that. So good job. Thanks for your honesty.
Yeah, thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability, because I was expecting at least someone to be like, no, that ain't me, you know?
I've never been stuck in life.
Right. I think at least like one person. Yeah, no one. So kudos to you all for your self-awareness, and thank you, yeah, for your vulnerability. When it came to where you get stuck, since 100% of us have felt stuck at some point or another, and, you know, like Josh and I shared, that's just being human, right? Like this is how we build resilience. Like we encounter opportunities to grow. If we feel like we're stuck, we figure it out. Oh, we can do a little bit more next time. We can make a little bit more, you know, change in that way. And so when we asked where you get stuck at, we gave you the options of relationships, like Josh gave us in that example, health, wellness, and fitness goals, because we all know the diet industry is like $1 billion industry, like it's crazy. And then we also gave the option of career or finance. And then we gave the option of all of the above. So, survey said 67%, the majority, said that they get stuck in all of the above. So relationships, health, wellness, and fitness goals, and then career and finances. The runner-up was just wellness and fitness goals. I was not surprised by that. And then relationships at 11%. No one said specifically career and finance, which I thought was interesting. It was either all of the above or these other two things. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean we have that coaching phrase, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And so not surprising that all of the above is an overwhelming response.
Right.
And then health and wellness being a runner-up for sure, because it's almost the industry has created so many partial solutions, or little, like they sell you on all these diets and unsustainable solutions. So I feel like the industry itself sets you up to get stuck.
Yeah.
So we've all been there. I know I've navigated that for a few years before I learned how to figure that out, get through that maze.
Yeah.
And then relationships, yeah, it's like the world of online dating in a way. It's easy to perceive that we're stuck because, of course, you're going to have more negative or quote unquote failure experiences before you have clarity on exactly what you want, or before you click into what you want. There's more people out there who are not for you than there are people who are for you, right? So
That's true.
I think the math checks out.
I'm not a mathematician, but my take on this, I wasn't surprised it was all of the above. And yeah, kind of the same in how we do everything, or how we do one thing is how we do, and how we do anything is how we do everything. I don't know why that is so challenging for me. It's Friday. My brain is like, well, you want us to do what now? So yeah, was not surprised. And I thought it was interesting that anyone clearly that said all of the above went to like finance and career, like as inclusive of that. And I think that goes back to our basic needs, right? We need to have like shelter and safety. And so I think that before, you know, we can even consider like these other needs when it comes to like relationship, and I would say health and wellness and fitness, because I think when we think of that, we think of more like dietary, like aesthetics type of a situation is what I'm assuming that the response was, because I meant like overall health, but I wasn't specific on that. And so I'm wondering if that was like misconstrued, and that's my bad if so on my part, but like I'm wondering. So I say that again just to speak to the fact that like I find it telling that, yeah, like if career's one, then like all the rest are the other, because no one said it was like just career. And so, yeah, how are we doing things, how we do everything, we need to get those basic needs met first. We need to have shelter. We need to like have the, food and water before we can start to experience these other things. So that was not surprising to me. The health and wellness fitness goals, I mean, like you said, like that's what kind of brought you into this arena, and hashtag same, like the reason that I'm here before you today is because I wanted to change the way that my body looked. And so I started trying, workout situations. And fortunately, I was able to get into something that revolutionized the way that I think, and it brought me here today. And yeah, for relationships, it sounded like I was about to go into like those people that like televangelists. No, the people that knock on your door. It sounded like I was about to be like, here's some Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
It changed my life. But no, it did. Functional fitness, people know that. So the relationship part, I was kind of surprised that more people didn't say relationships, because I feel that like that was your first example. I feel like that's something that a lot of people do feel stuck with, especially like today, like when online dating and like you have to worry about, COVID and everything else, like as we get older. And so I was surprised that more people didn't say relationships. I'm thinking in a strictly like dating capacity, but also I think that like we've had conversations about people who have social anxiety. And so I was surprised that, romantic, platonic, familial, like whatever, I was surprised more people didn't say relationship. For the health and wellness, yeah, like I said, that's how we got here. And I feel that society kind of, gives us the problem and the solution. It's like, you need to look this way. And then it's like, here's how to do it. And so, yeah, I wasn't surprised by that one. But yeah, the next one was a fun one. I mean, I think they're all fun. But the next one was, so fill in the blank or complete the following sentence. My toxic trait is, I got some answers. Are you ready for them? Self-sabotage, yeah. Which I was like, makes total sense, right? When my depression kicks in, I immediately push all those that want to help away. I felt that one in my being. Because I used to do the same, and I still catch myself like doing the same. So yeah, it's because we feel safe being alone if we remove the variables. And so if there are less people around, if we push them away, then chances are we'll be able to control the outcome a little bit better. And also, this is what Josh actually helped me realize. So Coach Josh over here helped me to realize that I have an expectation of being disappointed. And so in order to prevent that from happening, I just push people away. Because if you're not ever here, you can't let me down. So I'm just going to push away. We also got another person that said my toxic trait is that they read something that says, death by 1,000 nitpicks. I wouldn't say 1,000. So taking that to mean that like they're very nitpicky. Someone else said loving and trusting people too hard and late night Amazon shopping. Whew, everybody. I can be controlling, which, I mean, kudos to your self-awareness, because that's not something that's easy to say, I don't think. I don't want to speak for anyone, but I feel like that can be something that's like a tough pill to swallow. And then someone else said my toxic trait is comparing myself to others. So what did you think of these?
I think great self-awareness, and kudos to the vulnerability here. And yeah, this is good stuff. These are really great places to be aware. Just number one, be aware of. That's in and of itself, that's huge. But then if you really want to do something, these are excellent places to look at creating massive healing and growth. Because what these toxic traits will do in your life is they're going to continue to play out. They're going to create behavioral patterns. And if we were having a coaching conversation, probably what we'd see is you setting a goal for yourself, and I would ask you, and what's getting in the way of you achieving this goal, or what's gotten in the way in the past? And that's when a story will come out, and that story is probably a story that validates the toxic trait, right? Okay, you've probably got a better example
No,
of this.
I have
Okay,
a proposal for you. So
okay.
you want me to pick one of these and you can like do a little live coaching because I said that I resonated with one. So I can go with that one. Do you want to do that? To give like a real-time example?
We can do it. Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. So coaching session, we'll do like a little mini like insight, like peek behind the curtains here. So my toxic trait is, and I'm just gonna read this one as if it were me. When my depression kicks in, I immediately push all those that want to help away. So you said first question you would ask would be, I'll let you take that away.
Yeah. So okay. So if we were setting goals in your life, so this story is going to play out in some way as an example. So if you came to me and said this is my toxic trait, we may not may not be having a goals discussion. So we can do this a few ways. We can just unpack this a little bit. So when you tell me, okay, so depression kicks in, and I immediately push those that want to help away. So what is it that you might be protecting yourself from when you push people away?
I would say further hurt, disappointment, more pain is what I would say. I think that typically when, and again, like I'm speaking from my experience, so I don't want anyone listening to think that like I am taking what this person said. From my experience, I push people away because it's like I don't know what to do. And so the best thing that I know to do in that case is just to be alone. Because that I know will keep me at least as good as I am right now. And I can deal with that. And I know because I'm dealing with it like in the moment.
Okay. And so if you were to let people in and shift this behavior. So now you're feeling depressed and you're open and vulnerable about it. What scares you the most about that idea?
I think affirming the belief that I am unlovable, and that affirming the belief that I do like deserve to be alone and that no one wants to be around me.
So is it true that you are unlovable
No.
and that nobody wants to be around you?
I mean, I would hope not. But that I believe whenever and I'm able to say this because like I've done a lot of work, but yeah, at the time when I would do this kind of thing and push people away, yeah, it was that I was already in so much pain. I was like, I can't do any more right now. And so, yeah, I would push people away, and, you know, I wouldn't have the awareness to ask questions like that. But to answer your question, like, is that true? No. Like, I know that I have people who care about me, and it's something that isn't it's a legitimate belief. It's legitimate, like, feeling, but it's not really a rational one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And so this is a great example of being addicted to a particular chemistry. Because if you look at this, just want to invite people to zoom out a little bit. You look at the reasoning here. I won't let people get close to me when I feel depressed because I'm afraid that my vulnerability is going to affirm this belief that I'm not lovable. But by pushing people away, you're kind of setting up a story that will validate the belief that you're not lovable.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right? So you're creating that particular chemistry. You're creating this experience of um, I'm not lovable. Stay away from me, and that's giving you that fix of whatever those chemicals are that are undesirable, but they're comfortable, right? So it allows you to feel it's yeah, you can feel like a victim, you can feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
So until you break um, that pattern, or if you don't have awareness of it, you're going to continue to validate it, right? And so what we'd want to do is look at just getting curious, get behind that curtain, get curious about like what would it be like? Number one, how will you know if you're unlovable, right? And that's one that you could answer right now, or this could take a whole hour if we did it. But how would you know if you're unlovable? What would that look like? And and then what would it look like if you were to allow yourself to be vulnerable in the moment, right? What might happen, right? And then just becoming curious about experiencing that, just allowing yourself to think about all of the possibilities rather than just the one possibility, like this is going to fail, this is going to backfire in my face, I'm definitely going to be rejected. No, you open yourself up to what might happen, right? What kinds of outcomes are possible here.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I wanted to give like a real time, like unprompted, like unrehearsed example of like real life, because we go to these sessions, and I don't mean these like coaching sessions, I mean like therapy sessions, like coaching sessions, and we can have these awesome conversations, and at the same time it's something where it's important that you know how to like do these things whenever the therapist or your coach or whomever it is isn't there. And it's important that you like see this applied in real time, so that when you are depressed and your depression does kick in and you're wanting to push people away, you have the awareness to. So obviously self-aware awareness is the first step. You got that part right. Like these are, like Josh said, great awarenesses, so that you now have the knowledge to say, okay, like what would it mean, like how would I know that I wasn't lovable, like to ask those questions, and then like to really start to get curious about that. And that is some shit that I wish someone would have told me instead, so that I could do that instead. I mean, a lot of people know I would just drink to numb. And so this is what we mean when we say like more effective coping mechanisms. Learning to ask yourself questions like this, learning to, like you said, and like we demonstrated, to get to the root of that belief. Because yeah, it's something where we want to be right. Our brains want to be right as humans. And so we are going to seek out opportunities that prove for us to be right. We're going to push people away. We're going to be a dick. We're going to be like combative and defensive, so that people are like, oh God, because I'm going to tell you some other shit where someone told me. Most people don't have the tools to recognize when you are doing those things, because that's part of, you not knowing how to cope. Like there's a bunch of, hurt people walking around right now. And most of the people that are walking around don't recognize like, oh, well, they're doing this because they're actually depressed, and they actually probably fear, rejection, or they feel unlovable, and, they're addicted to those chemicals. Most people don't know this shit. And so it's something where most people will step away, and therefore your belief will be confirmed. And so, yeah, thank you for those questions. And for doing that with me, because I hope that that helps someone, if not everyone, that is listening to this and finds their way to it. So, yeah. Do you have anything else to say on what people share their toxic traits were?
No, no. I think we've said it.
Yeah, I think we talked about those. We did have two questions, because we also asked what are questions that you have about getting your own way. And two questions that came up for this conversation today How do I regain my self-trust? And comparing yourself to others to improve yourself. Is it such a bad thing? Let's take it from the top. How do I regain my self-trust? What would you have to say?
Yeah, the number two things to really focus on: practice and curiosity. Those are my buzzwords for this subject. So, self-trust is something that you build. Trust is about practicing or demonstrating, showing yourself that that you can believe that there's consistency in whatever it is that you're trying to build the trust in, right? So if you imagine like a foundation under your feet, and one day you fall through that floor, right? And then next morning you wake up and you're going to step on the floor. You might question whether or not you can trust the flooring in your house, right? So in order to regain that trust in the foundation that you have under your feet, it's going to take several experiences. It's taken this much in your life to begin to trust the ground under your feet, right? So it's going to take that floor holding you up several times before you know that it's actually sturdy and that it's safe.
Yeah.
So by practicing the behaviors that that you're looking to build into your life. So I don't know, in the context of this question, if you've either broken trust with yourself or if it's a new type of trust. It doesn't matter. You're going to practice doing the thing and just being curious about the outcome. Just imagine you're taking like a child version of yourself by the hand and saying, look, like, it's okay, let's just see what happens, right? And as you practice doing that over and over again, you're going to compile that evidence, and that's how you will feel safe and trust in yourself. It's all about it. It's a survival mechanism, right? Self-trust is just an extension of our survival brain saying, is it safe or not?
I love that practicing. And thank you for sharing. I would say what I would offer to add to that is, if you are trying to regain your self trust, and we could go in on this, but consider where and why you lost it, and where you already have a little bit of trust now. So that way you can start to understand, like, oh, well, this is the kind of situation that I don't feel so confident in, where I don't really trust myself. And, are there things in this other area where I do feel secure and where I trust myself and where I do feel confident that I can borrow and maybe start to repair that loss of self-trust there. Two other things I would offer. First of all, movement. Movement is the quickest way to show your body and your brain that you were in control, whether that be from breathing, like you can do some breathing techniques to slow, regulate your nervous system, slow your heart rate down. You can do some yoga. I like to throw weights around and listen to Rage Against the Machine, whatever feels true for you. But whenever you move, like, that's a physical act. And so that is, something where it's a lot easier for us to move ourselves into a way of being than it is to think ourselves into a way of being. And so
Yeah.
it's something where I suggest movement, whatever kind of movement feels safe for you and feels true for you, whether that be sports or, like I said, going for a walk and just acknowledging, like, your ability to put one foot in front of the other and to keep moving forward. One of the other things that I would suggest is to do the things that you say you're going to do. Because if you are someone who, even like little things, if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m., but then 6 a.m. comes and you keep hitting the snooze button, then what you're telling yourself, even though you're like, oh, it's no big deal, what you're telling yourself is, I can't even trust me to wake up on time or to wake up when I say I'm going to. So how can I trust myself to make big decisions about choosing the right life partner, about, taking the right job, about, doing this, making this right call in parenthood. And so it's something where, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. So take those little things, those little promises that you make to yourself, and start not only doing them, like start waking up at 6 a.m., but start celebrating and savoring that you're doing that, to remind yourself of all that you accomplished. And also, to last note on that, don't set yourself up for failure, set yourself up for success. And so if you are someone who wakes up at 9 a.m. and you're like, oh, well, I hear that it's great to, do things in the early morning hour. This is my, like, yes, I'm going to do it, like, arm. Then don't let that get in your head, because if you're someone who wakes up at 9 and you're like, I'm going to start waking up at 6 tomorrow, I'm just going to say it. That's dumb. That's dumb. That's a 3-hour gap. Like, that's way too much. That's way too much for a lot of reasons. And so instead of going from 9 to 6, maybe you go from 9 to 8:50. And you might be like, that is dumb. That is dumb, right? Like, that's so stupid. Yeah, it's so stupid easy that how could you not do it? If you wake up earlier, great. But as long as you commit to yourself, hey, this is the promise I'm making, at least 8:50, and you actually do that, then you're going to start to rebuild your self-trust in one way. And then you can start to recognize more opportunities that you have to build self-trust in other ways. So that is what I have to say on that question.
Love that. Yeah, show yourself that you can do it by setting yourself up for success.
Yes. The next question that we have is comparing yourself. Oh, Joe says small changes in growing up to those goals. Yes, exactly. So next question we have is comparing yourself to others to improve yourself. Is it such a bad thing? What do you think?
It's a matter of perspective. I think when we look up to others, we have a choice, an opportunity there to perceive them in a few different ways. So are we jealous of, and are we saying this person has this and I want that? And, are we starting to build resentment? Why can't I have this thing? Or is it, I admire this person for this trait? And so I love this subject because I do this one a lot with clients. The things that you see and admire in other people are actually already in you. They are things that you value. So you already have it in you. You wouldn't value it if you didn't have it. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't, look at this person's beautifully sculpted body. I wish I had that. You have that in you. You value it enough. Do you value it enough to prioritize it in your life, to make changes in your life, to allow yourself to embody the lifestyle and embrace the lifestyle and be that that version of yourself? That's the question. So are you looking up to others and coming up with all of the reasons why they're successful at whatever it is that they're doing, and developing a victim mindset that says, oh, I'm just not this way? Or are you using it as fuel to motivate you and say, like, yes, I can do this too. I have this in me, right? I'm motivated to wake up and do this because this person is inspiring me.
Yeah.
So it's like almost at the same root. You have a different, you're at a crossroads there with how you perceive it.
Yeah. I 1000% agree. Is it such a bad thing? Depends. Like, no, if, like Josh said, you're using it as inspiration, as motivation, as, I want to be like that person in this way, that you're not trying to be like a carbon copy of that person. Like,
yeah.
And that's like, and you're taking like that trait and that thing that you are, comparing yourself to improve, not because you're like, oh, I gotta, I want to be better than them. But if you want to be better than yourself and better than you were yesterday, one of the things about a lot is don't compare my day 5,000 to your day 2. Like, that's not the same. And that goes, for me or for anyone. And so, is it something that, like, you're using it for ideas of like, Josh said, like, I like this part about, oh, there's Mr. T. I like about this little guy. It sounds terrible.
As long as people know it's neither of us.
I mean, I can hold him if there's any doubt, I can show him on the screen. But so yeah, if you're using it as motivation, like things that you want to, do and achieve, like, oh, it's cool that that person can do that. I wonder what I can do. Like you said about curiosity, right? Like,
Yeah.
in that sort of a way to see like what's capable for you as well, then awesome. We love that. We love this, more of this. But yeah, if it's something that you are using that person to keep you addicted to a past version of yourself because you're like, I'll never be like them, or like, you said it's something where you are using them to affirm like the kind of person that you aren't, or the kind of person that you can't be, or the kind of person that you want to but will never be, like that kind of a thing, then yeah, it's a bad thing. So it depends on like how you use it, which we can apply that to anything, right? Like, is are carbs bad? No, but if you eat like 5 loaves of bread a day, probably like that's not good. And so same thing with this. Yeah, like you said, it's like, it's how you use it. Like, are you using it, to improve in a healthy way, or are you using it to like keep yourself addicted to this version of yourself and like, this torment, if you will, of how you are continuously like chasing the carrot, right? Like, that's what I have to say about it. You look like you've got more.
Yeah, well, so I think artists and artists in general are great leaders to look to in this space because artists and musicians and athletes are constantly looking for role models that inspire them and motivate them. It's part of the journey. It's an ingredient. It's an ingredient in your let's think of so it's an ingredient in your chocolate chip cookies recipe, right? But if we put only too many chocolate chip cookies in your recipe, it's going to ruin the cookies, right? So you want to have a decent amount of balance. Think about it like that. It's like 20%. I'm looking to other people for inspiration, but if it takes over and that's my only motivation, then that becomes unhealthy, right? And it starts to hold you back. So
yeah, if they
yeah,
are looking as that, or at that as being like the sole thing, like getting your motivation like from an external source, like yeah, we can use it for some inspiration now and again, but you don't want to put someone else, oh my god, like you need some water. Can you hear that?
I can hear it. I'm sure everyone can hear it. Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, so you need to be able to give yourself that validation, like community, like we've spoken about like time and again, we'll talk about again, I'm sure. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we need community. At the same time, yeah, like we need the right community. We need one that supports us to be our best selves and that doesn't make us feel like shit because they remind us of who we'll never be, or who we tell ourselves that we can't be. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Shall we refer to what some shit is that other people wished someone would have told them about getting it?
Yes.
All right. So we got some good ones. So nobody can help you until you help yourself. Love. Love. Another one, and this is more in relation to shit they wish someone would have told them about being addicted to a past version of themselves. Addiction to your past self is multifaceted, not simplistic. Which I was like, that's, yes. You can be addicted to suitable parts of your past, but don't worry about reverting to them. Instead, build upon them, which I think is,
Yeah.
what Darius was asking, like, can you go through withdrawal? And they're like, yeah, you can be addicted to the suitable past or suitable parts, but yeah, don't worry about reverting to them. Like, instead, use that for your growth. Like, get a little bit better. Like if you're good at one thing, like 101, like relationships, you're like, yeah, I'm good at that, let's go to like 102. Like let's not spend time worrying about reverting, but building. And then people pleasing shouldn't be the desire to be addicted to your past version of yourself. And so I asked, like, what the fuck does that mean? And they were like, when you do things to keep the community, right? Like whenever you do things to fit in, if you will, is like what they meant by that. Like it shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't do that to your detriment. Like just like you shouldn't people please to your detriment, and keep yourself stuck and small just to like appease others is like what they meant by that. So yeah.
No, good insight. Yes, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was good. So that is the shit that you all wish someone would have told you about getting in your own way and being addicted to a past version of yourself. Those are the answers to the questions that you had. How do you rebuild self-trust? And also, is it so bad to compare yourself to others? And we also answered the question from Darius, is, you know, it possible to experience withdrawal as you become this new version of yourself, and you start missing that past version of yourself. And so now what we're going to do before we wrap up is we're going to do a little rapid fire questions to get to know Josh a little better. You ready?
I'm not ready.
No?
I'm ready.
Okay. I was like, no. Okay. I say rapidish fire, but no one's really like done them fast. But here we go. What is a life hack you wish you knew sooner?
How to create lasting change in my life. So by that's not meaningful to anyone. So wish that I knew exactly how to do that by manipulating my relationship with dopamine. So if anyone's read Atomic Habits, that's just like a great book full of life hacks. How basically, if you want to create healthy habits and get addicted to those healthy habits in your life, how do you do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Are you cheating? The next question is, what's an awesome book you wish someone would have told you about?
I didn't know that was the next question, and it's not the same book.
If you say The Body Keeps the Score.
But you told me about that, so I'm like, that doesn't count. That's my go-to. Another great book, Find Your Why. I have it right here. I was just coaching on this one. This book honestly changed. This was the beginning of a huge journey for me, because this is all about finding your purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us are at a loss of like, what's my purpose? And is that something that you can find through a series of exercises? Like, yes, it actually is. There's science behind how you can do that, and it's tried and true. And yes, we all have a purpose. I promise you that's true. Just read Find Your Why and Finding Your Why by Simon Sinek, and you'll see.
And you can start if you, I mean, he did an awesome TED Talk that is super popular.
Yeah,
you can
it's a good one to start with.
Yeah, you can just Google Simon Sinek. I'm not sure how you say it. Yeah, Google Simon Y and TED, and it will come up, I'm sure. But yeah, I haven't heard of that book, so we will be downloading on that later because that's a new one. We're reading that. So you've actually offered 3 books. So Atomic Habits, The Body Keeps the Score.
Clearly, I'm read.
And
I'm clearly well read.
Yeah, you're clearly well read. So, and Find Your Why. So awesome. Thank you for bonus. You get bonus points. Okay. So you did not guess this next one, which is name a feel-good go-to thing that everyone needs to know.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Cold cryotherapy. So I think quite a few people know about this, but it's still getting out there. This is like cold showers or hot cold therapy is a real way to do this. So you do like get into like a hot tub and then into a cold shower, or like a sauna and a cold shower, or you could do like a hot shower and an ice bath. Doesn't matter, but just do that first thing in the morning. And it is right now a lot of leading wellness coaches in the industry insist that this is like the number one healthiest thing that you can do. Yeah, people love this. This is the number one thing, healthiest thing you can do for your nervous system. And from there, there's all kinds of overall benefits to your health, like better immunity, but you feel really good after. Like, I know I hate cold. Like that's like one of the things that I just do not enjoy about life is being cold. But after you do it, it's so worth it, and you feel amazing after. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it does suck when you first start. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it does suck. Yeah, when you first. That's funny. I didn't know you were so into that. Somehow we hadn't talked about that, but yeah, I have been doing that lately because
Mm.
getting sick. Granted, I know why I got sick last time. I was in a mosh pit with 19,000 people. I get it. Like, we're not mad. I would do it again. But yeah, I've been doing that because I'm like, something's got to change. And it also is supposed to have immunity benefits as well. And to like help with like all different kinds of things. Like, it's supposed to just like make your life better because we used to be exposed to this kind of shit and, this kind of shock back in I say the olden days, but like back whenever we lived
The 90s.
back in the 90s, back whenever like that's how we evolved, and the past few hundred years have really just like slingshotted us forward before our bodies have really had time to adjust. And so yeah, this is something that helps you like get back to that, and yeah, it has all different kinds of benefits. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, Darius, thank you for chiming in, and Joe as well. I love the feel of cold ice baths after a half marathon. Oh God, Joe's over here running half marathons, and I'm like,
You got to do the half marathon first, though. That's like,
yeah, like 400 meters, my thighs are chafing. I'll just go work out and then take a cold shower. Like, I don't half marathon. It's like 13.2, 13.6, 3. Anyway, I don't know. It sounds like my toenails and my thighs do not like it. But more power to you, sir, for doing that. So yes, thank you. Okay, good stuff. So we got a couple more questions. Well, a few more. There's 3. So what do you wish all clients knew before working with you?
uh, okay. So this common theme of like, am I doing this right? Like, are these, you see this in the early stages of coaching, and I usually have a big smile on my face when I see this happening, and I should probably check that. But uh, I'll get the like, is that a good answer? Or like, is that a right answer when we're doing deep introspective work? And I wish everybody knew that like whatever you come up with that we're going to work with is good. Like if you're just being open and honest and trusting what you feel in the moment, it's kind of like this lightning round of questions. Just like you go with it. Whatever comes up is there for a reason. It has meaning. And if we just trace that golden thread a little bit backwards and a little bit backwards, we're going to go places and we're going to find answers. So like there's no right or wrong way to navigate your way through the maze, so to speak, that is your mind, right?
I love that. Thank you for sharing. So that's awesome. Next question. What is something in your life today that you, Josh, get real excited about that younger Josh would be like, that's embarrassing?
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Mhm.
Yeah, no.
Like, shake.
My my whole exercise routine, I was
Yeah?
not it this my whole life has, and this is, you'll see this with clients too, right? And this idea where like the things that you value most in life, often it's not uncommon that that we did not pursue them when we were younger. So because we create excuses to protect ourselves from disappointment. So for me, I really value health and fitness. That's one of my top values: health, wellness, fitness. And when I was a kid, I like gym, I aced everything except gym class. I was just not into it. I thought it was stupid. And I did that to protect myself from feeling the disappointment of trying hard and then not being enough.
Mm,
And so because I valued it so much, right? It would have just broke little Josh's heart to give it his all and then experience failure. So he just didn't allow himself to until later in life. And now I'm like, I absolutely love I work out at F45, which is a class studio style workout. And you work out with a group of people, and I think I would have been totally embarrassed by that when I was 14 or 17 or whatever. Now I thrive in it. I just love that. I love the energy of working out with other people.
Yeah, I love that answer. That so yeah, I never played sports. I think people know that. But yeah, I remember one time we were doing that. Like, did you do those like tests in elementary school where it's like how many push-ups can you do and like how far can you
Yes.
box? So I remember I did. I don't remember if it was push-ups or pull-ups, but I did a lot more than this guy. And so I was just, how many did you get? Whenever I like got back to like our classes, and he was like, "Shut up!" Like he was so pissed, and I'm like, "Toxic
Yeah.
masculinity." But I never pursued it, and so it's interesting because even though I never, pursued it, I did try out for the volleyball team and did not make it. And I ran cross country for 2 weeks, and I was like, "Fuck that shit." Also, the bus left me because I was so slow one time that like while I was doing the warm up run, they like left to go run somewhere else, and I was like, "Oh well, okay." So yeah, Johnna did not play sports, but I don't think it was because I didn't. I don't think it was for the same reasons. But even so, I don't think that younger Johnna would look at me now and be like, "Oh, shaking my damn head." I think she would be like, "Yes, bitch." Younger Johnna swore. I'm just kidding. She did not. I didn't swear until I was like in college, but we make up for it. And younger Johnna, younger heeled Johnna, yeah, she would throw out some swears. But yeah, the thing that I love that answer. The thing that's not what I said that I would be embarrassed of. It's like my love of nonstick cookware. That my
Oh,
young would be like, "What is wrong with you?" But not the toxic tech, not the Teflon, like the good stuff. Um,
huh.
but yeah, I do get really excited for nonstick cookware because I cook a lot. Darius says F45 is not for the faint of heart. So y'all have a lot in common with F45 and cold showers, which we love. So
We'll conduct time.
yeah, so you could go to a workout and take a cold shower, like after. I mean, maybe not the same.
That just went weird places, Johnna.
That is not what I meant. That is not what I meant, and I apologize to you both. I'm avoiding eye contact now, so my bad. Okay, so last one. If you, Josh, could tell everyone just one thing, just one, that is some shit you or someone told you, what would it be?
Okay. They probably did tell me this.
Don't take cold
Um,
showers with strangers.
what?
Don't take cold showers with strangers. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no one told me that. Learned that the hard way. No. Um, it's so simple, but it's so meaningful. Which is just that you are enough. I
Mm,
didn't know that or grasp that until much later. And I don't know if those words will really land for anyone who doesn't understand how important that is. It's kind of like if you know, you know. You are enough. You don't have to prove yourself or validate your worth by doing things, right? That like we all come into this world with a unique set of gifts and talents and values for a reason. And at the end of the day, we love to measure in corporate America, I'll say, in the capitalist sort of world that we live in. We love to measure and focus on results, which can be good, but when you try to measure humans in this way, there's this idea that we grow up with that uh, not everyone's as equal or as able to contribute, and that's a big lie. Like everybody is on a level playing field with their ability to contribute to society. When you consider that we're not always even aware of how we're influencing and inspiring and touching the lives of others around us. Like we all have a unique role to play. It's enough to just show up and honor who you are and do the work, right? Like there, you don't have to be anything but you to be valuable. Um, yeah, that's a whole ass episode of
That is a whole ass episode.
something. So
That is a whole ass episode. Coming to an Instagram near you. Yeah, that's a whole ass episode. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I love that you mentioned like you don't know like who you are positively impacting. One of my clients recently, well, so a couple of them, because I mean, you know, we're in the age of social media, and so one of them started sharing their story and has like gone viral, gotten interviewed on like TikTok. She's gone viral on TikTok. She's gotten interviewed. She's been on podcasts based on her experience, and she's been on the show. It's Hannah with fat camp. Like she went to a fat camp when she was younger, and so um, yeah, I think that it's something where oftentimes we don't know because we don't want to share these parts of ourselves. But like, I mean, whenever we do, like so many people feel validated in their own experience and in their own existence because you're modeling the behavior to show others that they are enough simply just by being. And so, yeah, I totally love that you shared that. So thank you for doing so. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
thank you. Thank you for asking. That was fun.
Of course. So where can they find you? What do you have going on?
Find me on Instagram. And what do we have going on right now? Doing my 12-week overcoming anxiety program. Really busy with that. Fully booked for the summer and fall or autumn, depending on what you call that season in your part of the world. But we're what's that?
You call it autumn?
I don't know. There's just people do apparently. I don't know where they live. Maybe like people in Vermont. Do they call? I made that up. I don't know.
My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was like,
No, it's good. Yeah, we're fully booked in summer and fall, and now enrolling for the winter. So if you are looking for an intensive healing and growth program, and you've been struggling with anxiety of in all its forms, would love to hear from you.
very cool. And I will make sure to link Josh. If you're not following him already, you need to get on it. And you can tap right over to his bio by just going to the description, and you can connect with him there. Thank you. Like I said, it's always a pleasure. I will continue to say that. I'm excited for our next episode, which apparently we might have just decided what our topic is. So we can get that on the books at some point in the future. Oh, Joe, thank you all both for everything. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your questions. If this was helpful, if you have not listened to this week's episode, please do share it with someone and listen to it for yourself. Listen with a friend. And yeah, if this was helpful as well, make sure to save it, play it back, share it, do what you need to do. If you have questions, then we are here. Our doors are open. We are coaches. That is what we do. Yeah, Josh has an anxiety program. I have a program that when self-help doesn't help, I show you what does and why and how to make it work for you. So it's not some cookie cutter like, well, just try this. It's like an intensive where we work to figure out what works for you. Not for your mom, not for your dad, not for your cousin, you. And so, yeah, I've got that going on, and I am about to start enrolling for the fall coming up in about a week or so. So, well, in about 2 weeks. So if you're interested, you want to take on that, you want to get in, then go ahead and slide them in DMs and let me know. Bye, Darius. Thank you. Take care as well. It's like for you. Take care as well. And lastly, I do want to let everyone know that Monday's episode is going to be coming out at 8 a.m. Eastern. And we are going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? We just recorded it today and like my brain is like fried. We're going to be talking about, accepting your reality. Accepting, he said, see you in the showers. Oh God, I apologize. I'm glad that we made a funny from that. We have an inside joke now. I love that. So Yeah, see you in the cold showers, not just the regular showers. See you in the cold showers. So yeah, Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Dear God, it is time for me to go to bed. We are going to be having the episode. My fellow colleague Bethany and I are going to be talking about accepting your reality, and it's a bit of a tough love episode. We talk about what we mean by that. We don't mean settling, just spoiler alert, but we talk about what we do mean by that, and we talk about why it's so hard and what to do it. So do make sure to check that out. Otherwise, thank you all. As always, it's been a pleasure, and I hope y'all have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you on the screens. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. See you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.